Oh my goodness. The Shedeur Sanders trade buzz continues. You won't believe the rumor we just got from a Browns beat reporter on this concept, guys. You're watching the Browns Report presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Joey O'Donohue. And guess who is spewing this now? It is Mary Kay Cabot adding fuel to the fire on this Shedeur Sanders trade buzz. She wrote an article about it. Let's look at what she had to say in the latest update. Mary Kay says this doesn't mean the Browns have ruled out trading Shedeur Sanders at the end of camp. Everyone has a price, and the Browns would undoubtedly listen to offers for him if Watson wins the starting job. What? Wow. Undoubtedly, they would listen to calls about Shedeur. That's telling. Those are strong, definitive, certain words to use when describing this concept that nobody really wants to talk about, quite frankly. But I think, and I don't want to say we're not giving it attention because clearly it's gone absolutely viral lately over the past few days. But I think it is a rumor that does deserve a little bit more talking about because there's a real possibility this happens now. And let me just say for the record, before I dive more into the rumor, I think it's a dumb idea. I'm not with it. I'm not about it. I don't feel comfortable with Dillon Gabriel being our backup quarterback. If anything goes wrong and he has to get into a game, I think we're screwed. I'd rather have Shedeur in Cleveland playing for us, starting, or even being the backup and he gets in later in the year, whatever it is. I feel comfortable with Shedeur playing. I want to see him. I'm not comfortable with Gabriel being our backup. I think the season's over then if starter goes down. By the way, not even a guarantee that Watson will be a good starter. He never was in Cleveland. But again, this isn't necessarily about my feelings on it. I'm reporting what is being said over the past few days. And let's just recap because there's been a ton of talk about it now to where it's like, absolutely, this deserves attention. Okay, first, Tony Rizzo has his antenna up. He says there are talks and ongoing calls about the availability of Shedeur Sanders, that teams are checking in to see if he's available, and that would tell you that logically, based on the Browns quarterback competition, he might be up for grabs if he does not earn the starting job. And then an NFL insider, so here's an actual source, Jeremy Fowler, had floated this idea saying, you have the Shedeur Sanders factor. If he doesn't get the job, is he the right backup for your team? I don't know the answer to that. If Shedeur were to lose the job, it would be interesting to see how he handles that. If the Browns feel like there's some tension there, maybe they do try to facilitate a trade. And why Jeremy Fowler is bringing this up, the idea, Browns are going to start Watson. Shedeur doesn't want to be a backup. In fact, he was waiting all night on draft night to get called, and the Ravens, Eagles tried to draft him. He said, no, I don't want to be a backup to Lamar. Hurts. I want a chance to start. Cleveland, evidently, despite Kevin Stefanski, who, people think was sabotaging him, at the very least, Stefanski did not choose Shedeur, did not want Shedeur to start, and Shedeur still overcame that and was able to start. And that's why he ended up saying, all right, Cleveland's a good spot for me to go. So he doesn't want to be a backup. And then the backlash on the Browns end of things, well, they start Deshaun Watson and bench Shedeur. Now you got two fan bases at you. The Shedeur Sanders fans, the Browns fans that hate Watson. That's a lot of backlash you're going to have to face, and they might just move Sanders when you couple all that together because some teams will need a starter, and Sanders can start in this league. Now, I've also been told there's an unwritten rule in the NFL when it comes to backup quarterbacks, okay? NFL teams don't want any distractions from their backup QBs, which I suppose makes sense. When you name a starter, you don't want your backup quarterback, in the spotlight all the time, making distractions. There are teams that operate that way. Todd Monken doesn't strike me as that. I think Todd Monken embraces this. He spoke about it at his press conferences, and he seems to really like both Shedeur and Watson in the room. And then another report that came out that kind of makes this a little more interesting is Jeremy Fowler says Watson went into the spring as the clear favorite to start, and Shedeur has now bridged the gap, at least somewhat. That's an interesting terminology to use, is it not? Are the Browns perhaps building up Shedeur's trade value, saying that he has now bridged the gap. Lot to consider there. Lots of different reporting on this matter. Let's talk more about it in just a moment here and get everybody's opinion. But first, let's give a special shout out to our good friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the place to go if you love daily fantasy sports. Player picks are on fire right now. There's no better place to cash in while watching sports than with PrizePicks. Guys, the app's really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. With the social feeds feature, you can follow your friends, share lineups with each other, or explore your favorite celebrity lineups. Copy lineups with a single click. It's that easy, and you can now find my lineups. My username is JoeyOD1. I am going to pick the more on Shedeur Sanders' game started, okay? Whether that's for the Browns, whether that's for another team, either way, he's going to get an opportunity. That's what he wants, and I'm picking the more on 6.5 games. Also going to pick the more on Kyler Murray game started. I think he beats out JJ very easily and starts that whole season in Minnesota. $5 lineup, pay out $15. You can make the same one if you download the PrizePicks app. And if you're a new user, download the app today and use code HMA. You get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Link is in the comment section and description of today's video. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I'll tell you what teams are calling about Shedeur? There's two that stick out. Arizona Cardinals, New York Jets. Those two teams are in situations where they have no option if their veteran starter doesn't want to play. And that's actually something that could be brewing for the Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett is holding out. He wants a raise. If he can't play, they've got no one to turn to except Gardner Minshew or Carson Beck. Are you kidding me? Shedeur would start over both of those guys. Geno Smith is in trouble, okay? There's being investigated. And if he can't start for the Jets, they're even more screwed, okay? Geno is being investigated for an incident in which a woman accused him of battery. And so if they have to turn to what? They have to turn to a fifth-round rookie, Cade Klubnik, if he can't go. Shedeur would start for that team. So those two stick out to me the most. This one, I just put to get a reaction out of people, the Atlanta Falcons. There is the Kevin Stefanski connection, but no way, no how is Stefanski going to trade for Shedeur. Absolutely not. Maybe Gabriel, but not Shedeur. Then there's the Cowboys. This one, if anyone would trade for Shedeur, it would be Jerry Jones. Also, Sanders' home is in Dallas, so keep an eye on him. And then maybe Tampa Bay. Funny enough, Browns' connection with Baker Mayfield there. If they don't want to pay Baker, they might trade for Shedeur to have some stability in their quarterback room for the next few years. Let me know, guys, in the comment section. Do you think this happens? Will the Browns trade Shedeur Sanders to one of or any team? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you think they trade Shedeur Sanders, type Y for yes. If you think there's no way, type N for no. Get your letter prediction in the comment section down below right now. All right, Mary Kay had another report now about this whole quarterback trade idea, and Shedeur's value in a trade is what we'll also talk about next. But let's go to what Sanders' value really is. What is Shedeur's value in a trade? You know, when you look at his numbers from last season, it's probably hard to put an exact draft pick on what a team would give up for Shedeur Sanders. Like, I think you have to separate facts and feelings here for just a moment, because I see the potential in Shedeur, but other NFL teams passed on him in the draft repeatedly. And I don't think they would offer more than a 4th or 5th round pick for Shedeur, and that's being generous from other NFL teams' perspectives. Again, I believe in Shedeur. I think that would be dumb to trade him for that. But if you want if this trade happens and it's for a 5th round pick, I don't want you to be shocked, because I'm telling you, that's probably what NFL teams are going to offer at most. Which is why it makes no sense for the Browns to trade Shedeur. I'd rather keep him. See him play for us, okay? The city was behind it last year. The fans were screaming, excited about it. We haven't had that kind of excitement in Cleveland in a long time. Let's let him be ours this year, all right? And a much better system. He could show us what he can do. So that's that conversation about the value, guys. Let me know down below in the comment section, what do you think Shedeur goes for in a trade? He was a 5th round pick, so let me know down below what you think a team would give up to trade for Shedeur Sanders. Now, Mary Kay has another report here about the other quarterbacks in the room. Check it out. They'll also undoubtedly listen to offers for Dillon Gabriel, depending on how the competition shakes out and how sixth-round quarterback Taylen Green comes along in camp. Okay, that's more like it. Dillon Gabriel trade rumors. This should be the conversation. Get Gabriel off the team. But you want to talk about value? Who would trade for Dillon Gabriel? Well, I mean, what market is there? Is there any value? And you can't just go off last year's draft, right? You're like, oh, but Gabriel was a third-round pick. Could be the worst third-round pick in NFL history. Let's look what Jeremy Fowler had to say about Gabriel's value. He said maybe he does have value somewhere. I asked an NFL coach about him the other day, actually, and it was more like, hey, he's going to play a long time in the league. Probably. He's not going to fizzle out. He'll be a backup somewhere, a 2 or a 3. So maybe a team would take a chance on Gabriel to be their 2 or their 3 for the future. He's a young backup in the league. That's what he is. A young quarterback that'll be a league backup. So maybe a team pays a low draft pick for him. And I'll say this, that would be the best case for the Browns. Okay, that would be the best case. Trade Gabriel off the roster if you got to get rid of one of the quarterbacks, all right? Monken likes our quarterbacks. He likes Shedeur. He likes Watson. And he can develop Taylen Green. Taylen Green fits his system a little bit more, fits what he likes to do, spread off concepts sometimes, let the quarterback scramble, athletic freak. Don't need Gabriel. Okay, I'd be fine with those 3, Shedeur, Watson, and Green. Now, Mary Kay echoes this sentiment in a sense by saying Monken genuinely feels he has 2 starters in Watson and Shedeur. And he hasn't seen enough yet to name a starter. Teams might be asking about Sanders when talking to the Browns, but about other players, but they are not actively shopping their 2025 fifth-round pick and aren't soliciting trade offers. Again, that could change later this summer if Watson wins the job, but the two-way battle is set to resume July 29th. So there you have it again, folks. The Browns are not shopping Shedeur, but perhaps they're getting calls, and perhaps that changes after training camp if Watson wins the battle by a mile. So we wait. We wait and see how this whole thing unfolds, everybody. I'll have you covered here on the Browns Report, all right? That is why you subscribe. But I do think that Shedeur will handle it just fine. So the other parts of it is that Shedeur's going to be upset if he's the backup. He's not going to crash out and ask for a trade. No, I think Shedeur has shown all last year that even though the media is loud about him, he for the most part was pretty quiet and said all the right things at the podium. And I think he will just say what he always says, and that's that he trusts in God's plan. That's what he says every time he goes to the podium. I agree with him. And he says he'll get his opportunity. So it'll be another waiting game for him. But this time, at least he'd be quarterback 2 behind a guy that's always hurt instead of quarterback 4 in a shit show. So I think Shedeur would handle it pretty fine. But that's my take, guys. If you want more of them, go on over to X. Follow me at Joey070. I tweet a lot more about this. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're a diehard Browns fan, you want the news, you want the updates, especially when it breaks. I'll be the first one to get on here and tell you guys about it. So thank you so much for tuning in to the show. I've been your host, Joey O'Donohue. I'll see you next time.